Hello everyone, this is Dave Giles from Daedalus Spinning Wheels. My wife Rebecca is behind the camera today. We're here to do another live video. We haven't done one of these in a long time. I'm glad to be back and finally connecting with you guys and talking to the community. I'm going to kind of just, I'd like to give a minute or two to let people join, see if they're going to come in. Of course, this video can be reviewed later. It'll be available, so if anybody's missed out or come in the middle, they're going to be able to see it again or see the beginning stuff. So we've had an amazing year. Daedalus continues to grow. I can't explain to you how blessed we are as a company, as an entity, and with all the customer base, all of you guys that we have. It continues to get bigger and better, and I just really enjoy doing this job and working with you all. So let's get started. Rebecca, are we ready to get started pretty well?
Yes.
All right. What we'll do, and if you guys can't hear me, comment in the chat. I'm using a new microphone system, and I don't know how well it's going to come across compared to the old mics, but I think we should be okay. But let us know if that changes. If you have questions, either if you come to this preloaded with questions and you're just ready, go ahead and shoot them out in chat. We got people watching the chat, and or as I'm going through the material, if a question comes up, go ahead and shoot it into chat, and we'll see how much time we have left at the end, and I'll go back and try to answer as many of the questions that came in as we have time for. So just keep that in mind. What do we want to talk about? RHINEBECK, right? RHINEBECK, New York. We got in this year. Just an amazing set of circumstances. It was right all the way down to the wire. We didn't think we were going to get in. We haven't even known that we were in for that long. They just let us know maybe last week or so. For those of you who don't know, RHINEBECK is it's the New York Sheep and Wool Festival. It's the largest wool and sheep-centric festival in the United States. And I don't mean by a little, it's by a lot. And so we've applied to this year after year, and the spots or the booths are so sacred at RHINEBECK that people just don't turn them loose, and you can understand why. Somehow we managed to slide into one. We're going to be, what the dates are, it's October 21st and 22nd this year. That's a weekend, so it's a Saturday, Sunday. It'll be 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday. If you're in that area, come and see us. We're going to be loaded for bear. We'll be in barn 36 and booth 18, if that helps you. I'm sure they'll have a map when you walk in there, but if you want to go ahead and find us and try to get there early on Saturday, we will have a lot of product. So I don't expect us to sell out in the first hour on Saturday or anything like that, but people who are coming looking for a specific color combination, if you want the best choice of availability of everything that we have, you want to try to get there as early as you can on Saturday. We'll be bringing everything we got. We got Roly Poly. That's the yarn winder that we have, and that's been just a huge success. Whirligig is a skeiner and Swift kind of combination. It works well with Roly Poly, or it works great on its own. And of course, we'll have speed controllers and batteries and all the little miscellaneous accessories. And we'll be bringing all five of our wheel models. And so the 5 wheel models will be, of course, we got Sparrow, we got Starling, we've got Falcon, we got Magpie. That's 4. There's a 5th one, right? Martin, right. The whole reason I brought you guys here, I want to talk about this new wheel. I've gone and done it again. I designed a new wheel, and I'm really, really happy with it. It's one of the most complex and most satisfying designs that I've done to date. And I don't feel like it duplicates any of my other wheels. I think it has it's going to have a very important spot in the lineup, and I think it'll be very popular. So, but we're not going to get to that right now. I want to talk about something else. If I just talked about Martin, then everybody would leave as soon as I started talking about Martin. That's what they came here for, I guess. We're doing the second Daedalus Fly-In retreat here in Lexington, Kentucky. So what this is a weekend full of classes from some of the most famous teachers and the best teachers across the country. And I mean across the country. We did it last year, and don't feel like I'm being arrogant in saying that it was a huge success. There were just not really the smallest problems ever popped up. We were coming into this new and trying to get advice from our friends and other people who do retreats, and we just expected for everything to just be on fire the whole weekend. And in the middle of it, we literally, Rebecca and I looked at each other like, we really don't have anything to do. Like, we, everything's so planned out and so taken care of that it's just kind of eerie that we're just sitting here watching it all happen. And it was a wonderful feeling. And so we wanted to do it again. So we've got it scheduled. Again, Lexington, Kentucky. We're going to do it in the same location, which is the Griffin Gate Marriott Hotel. Wonderful, top-notch hotel. PGA rated golf course associated with it. It's just wonderful. So the dates are going to be, it's going to be right at the end of February, beginning of March. And so we're looking at February 28th of 24, of course, through Sunday, March 3rd of 2024. And so on the Wednesday is when everybody gets there, and we open with a dinner that night and have a nice dinner where everybody can kind of get to know each other or just mingle. And then classes are going to be on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Now, the classes, like I say, we literally tried to handpick the best teachers and to have a variety of classes available for everybody depending on your different interests. And so on our docket, we have Julie Drogsvold. And I don't know if you know her, but she's associated tightly with Joan Ruane. Joan Ruane, if you don't know that name, you should. She tends to be like the final word in cotton. And for a very, very long time, her knowledge, she's forgotten more about cotton than I think I'm ever capable of learning. I did get to meet Joan Ruane. She is wonderfully sweet, very petite little old lady. She fits her voice just perfectly. And so Julie has been working with Joan for over 10 years. And so anything Julie says about cotton, I am going to give a lot of validity to. And cotton's something that I think it's popular. I think it's an intermediate fiber that people, they start off with their wools and their wool blends, but then there's always that, cotton, it's that short staple. It's that, what does it take to spin it? Does it take a special spinning wheel? Does it take special techniques? And those are yes and no answers. And so Julie's going to be able to answer those for you with her cotton classes. Julie's from Arizona, so she's coming out from the West Coast. She has a farm, I think it's called Tangled Yarn Farms, and they specialize in Angora Angora rabbits, Angora goats, and wool sheep. So we'll be happy to see Julie. Next on the list is Emily Woolshide. Am I saying that right?
Woolshide.
Woolshide. And she's doing the carding classes, carding and blending. Like, what better of a topic could you have than carding and blending, as far as putting together your own blends, and why. And so Emily's from Michigan, and she says that you can read about her classes online. I'll give you a website at the end of this, but you can bring your hand carders if you have them, hackles, and maybe even drum carders. I think if you have drum carders, you can optionally bring those. But she's going to bring everything that you need, and that'll be just a really interesting class about blending fibers. Jill Duarte. Jill Duarte is doing classes on breed and fiber selection. All right, so all the different breeds and how their wools are different, and how you're going to select them for your project and what you're going to use. If you don't know Jill has just been rooted in like every fiber festival related event. She and Nick, her husband Nick, Nick's the one that's always in the T-Rex costume. So if you've ever seen a guy or a person in a T-Rex costume at an event, likely mathematically that's going to be Nick. They own and operate Hip Strings. And so Hip Strings, they do a lot of different items. You should check that out. Also, they do a festival too, Indie Knit and Spin. And they're from Pennsylvania. And I think that's the festival's just outside of Pittsburgh, maybe. All right. Michael Kelson. Michael Kelson, wonderful gentleman. He's doing, honestly, some of the classes I would be the most excited to take as a novice, and I hate to call myself an intermediate. But his class is doing more with less, right? It's so easy to waste expensive fiber. So easy. Spinning for socks, spinning for sweaters. So a lot of you all understand that there's different spinning techniques for the project that you're actually going for, and but maybe you're just familiar with that idea. But Michael's going to be able to kind of hammer that home and actually talk about the different spinning techniques for the different projects. And I just think that's wonderful. Michael's from just outside of Seattle, Washington, so he might be the one coming the longest distance, I think. All the way from over there. He's very, very popular in that north corner. I know, what is it? He does the men's fall knitting retreat. And so he's got a retreat of his own. So I'm sure he understands exactly about classes and how they have to go. But like I said, I'm really excited to have Michael on board with us. Last but not least is Esther Rogers. This is another name. If you haven't heard it, you probably should. She's very well known in the art yarn community, just very, very famous for not just being an art yarn spinner, but also a teacher in the classes that she teaches about art yarns. She's very prevalent, very active, been at a lot of different festivals. She owns and operates Jazz Turtle Creations, and so you might want to check that out online, where she does a lot with her art yarns. I think she's into, what is it, Sayori weaving?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Sayori weaving kind of involves the heavier, chunky, more textured art yarns. And I think that's just beautiful. So yeah, Esther's going to be doing some classes with us too. And that pretty much covers it for the retreat as far as for the instructors. We are going to have a vendor market. It's a little bit larger. I think we've gone from 8 to 9 vendors. Woo! Expansion, growth. If you have too many vendors, it just doesn't work out right. And so I think everybody knows that. Trying to get the magic balance of vendor number to the foot traffic. And I think we were, at least talking with the vendors last year, I think we did a real good job of it. So we're just trying to mimic that formula this year. Quickly, I could talk about these vendors. I know most of them personally, but I'm told that we have a very small time allotment, so I'm supposed to be prodded into kind of just giving you the top the top info as far as our vendors go. So we've got Apothecary. She is a powerhouse from Arkansas, from the Ozarks. If you don't know Fairy, she's an amazing woman. Everything that she does, everything that she raises. But she's definitely going to be bringing cotton this time. She does a lot with natural fibers and natural dyeing, and she'll definitely have a lot of cotton because we have cotton classes. So I know she told us that. Cottontail Farms. They're going to be new with us this time. They do notions and project bags, so kind of accessories. Deep Dyed Yarns. That's Stephanie in Nicholasville, and she's going to be bringing lots of fiber and dyed yarns. Desert Panda Fiber Arts. We've been with them side by side at shows, and they're a great group. They'll have fiber and dyed yarn as well, I believe. Jerry Brock. If you don't know Jerry Brock, she's in the Daedalus circle. She does a lot of testing for us and works with us, but she's known for her Turkish spindles. And so she's going to operate a booth and have her Turks there. And she scrolls all of her Turks, and it's just the detail work on the scrolling is just amazing. I think you'll be amazed by it. And she was given the opportunity to be able to host some Inglenook fibers. So Inglenook, those are the Magic Nuns, right?
Yeah.
So I hope they're watching this. But the Magic Nuns, if you don't know Inglenook fibers, they are just wonderful dyers. They have the best color sense for being able to combine palettes that aren't your standard obvious, we overuse sets of colors as dyers. And it seems like they've got some really interesting stuff out there. And so they weren't able to make it in person, but Jerry agreed to host and commission a lot of their products in her booth. And that's very nice of you. Thank you, Jerry. Spanish Peacock. If you don't know Spanish Peacock, they do support spindles. And they're very well known for that, and we're glad to have them on board. Spotted Circus. Spotted Circus, they are your more alpaca people, I believe. They specialize in alpaca fleeces, alpaca bats, any and everything alpaca. So if you've ever wondered, and that's kind of like the cotton. It's sort of an intermediate fiber that people are hesitant to work with, especially when it's pure or 100% alpaca. And so alpaca is typically blended to be able to be spun and to work into finished projects. And those are definitely the people to talk to about that. Steam Bee Studios. And so they're new with us. And so they do ceramics.
They're also local to us.
Oh, are they?
She's in Berea.
Oh, Berea, Kentucky. Oh my God, Berea is a wonderful art community. I would say tops in the state of Kentucky is the city of Berea, and so I'm glad that they made it up here. And what were they? They had ceramics. It'd be mugs.
She's going to have mugs,
dizzes,
support spindle bowls, and possibly yarn bowls as well.
Urban Girl Yarns. She's new with us, and we've been talking to her for some time. And she does fiber and dyed yarns, right?
Yes.
Okay, dyed fiber and dyed yarns. So we've got a great selection, several different fiber vendors and yarn vendors, and all the little nooks and accessories. I feel like we got all the bases covered. That's great. So thank all of you, everybody that I've named. Thank you all for participating. Can't wait to see you and help you get set up. All right, so the classes, when the classes close out, they'll close out on Saturday, and so Saturday night we'll have a closing dessert get together and a raffle. What do you know about the raffle?
The raffle is going to be donated items from the vendors. So keep an eye out. They'll be in the dessert. Well, I'll have them there most likely in the lounge the afternoon before the dessert, so everybody can take a look at them. But during the dessert, you'll put your raffle tickets in little jars, and at the end of the dessert, we'll call names.
All right. And so that's Saturday night, and Sunday will be the departure for everybody. Will be checkout. Some extra stuff about the retreat that I haven't mentioned. There are nightly events. So, like, I know their breakout sessions usually happen in the lounge. It did last year. Jerry Brock and TJ King. TJ King is of course, with Spanish Peacock. And they'll both be in there talking about their spindles, the support spindles.
Thursday night.
That's on Thursday night.
It will be before the vendor lounge Thursday night.
Before the vendor lounge.
I mean, before the vendor market. So, it's Thursday night. The vendor market's Friday morning. So people can learn a little bit about Turkish spindles and support spindles before they go into the market.
Perfect. So yeah, there is a private lounge that adjoins the market, and so we had that last year, and that's just where a kind of a group together type area at night. It seemed like we had big crowds in there in the lounge at night. And they stayed pretty late too. Mm-hmm. Kind of partying people for a
lounge is opened until between 10 and 11.
Okay, 10 and 11 maybe. There is an optional lunch package. And so I know when you sign up for the retreat, you can sign up for the optional lunch package. That keeps you having to go out to a restaurant or try to wait on food or have a variable thrown in. Excuse me. And that lunch package is provided in the lounge that adjoins the market. The other thing is, if you're coming to the retreat, you have the ability to pre-order one wheel for delivery in January 2024. So you can pre-order whatever wheel you want personally or to use for the retreat, and we send it to you a little bit early before the retreat so you can actually get to know it and understand how to use it, so you'll be comfortable when you come in for classes. And so that's for retreat patrons only, and that's really nice. We still have a pretty long waiting list for some of our models. We've been doing great on making advances on the waiting list, especially Starling. We've really been busting on Starling. The future looks pretty bright as far as catching up on these waiting lists. It really, really does. We've got our system like a Singer sewing machine. So the website that you want to look at is www.daedalusflyin, FLYIN.com, Daedalus Fly-In. And that's where you can go to check out all the information about the retreat. We'd like you to sign up. We want to see you. We want you to be part of the flock, part of the family. You don't have to have a Daedalus wheel. You can bring whatever you want. Check out the information. You can sign up at that website, DaedalusFlyIn.com. I think you don't have to pay right away. I think you have, maybe up to a month or something to pay, so maybe get your finances together and stuff. So we encourage you to go ahead and sign up, and that way we can ensure that we get you into a room and into the classes that you want. The sooner you sign up, the better. And so we have that going on. Next news, that's the retreat, pretty much. And I hope people have asked some questions, maybe that we'll get to at the end. At the retreat, we're also going to be having a new product that we're reselling for a friend, Aiden Akerman in Knoxville, Tennessee. He's a great guy, and he owns Akerworks and the Kates. So a lot of people have problems finding a Kate that'll work with some of the longer bobbins for some of the wheels that we have, namely Magpie. That's our big popular bird, and it's a monster, and it has monstrous bobbins. Older wheels, the Blackbird and the Starling XL also had bobbins that were a little bit too long to work with the standard Aker Kate. And so the standard Aker Kate has 4 shafts, and that works with our Falcon, our Starling, our current Starling, our Sparrow, and the old Starling Mini. So our popular wheels, pretty much, the 4 shaft will work. But if you have a Magpie or are lucky enough to have had a Blackbird or Starling XL, then Aiden was nice enough to make a 2 shaft Aker Kate that we call the Magpie Kate. And so literally it just has longer axles, and it's set up for those big bobbins, and it's just wonderful. So we've got some of we have those in stock now, don't we?
We do.
Yeah, so if you check on the website, go out and check. I think it's under Notions. If you go under Notions in the web, it's the web store.
Yes.
Yeah, on the web store, if you go under Notions, you'll see the Aker Kates all listed out together. Otherwise, if you go into each wheel on the store, you'll see a link for its specific Kate.
For the Kate that fits it the best, yes.
Right. And so we have those for sale now. If you want to purchase one through us, we've got them sitting right here, ready to ship out. We also have the standard Clampy Kate kit, or there's a Magpie Clampy Kate now. So if you don't want to have to get the big Aker Kate, you can get a Clampy Kate. And the Clampy Kate, I don't want to go into too much detail about it, but basically it's got a clamp where it clamps onto the side of a table or something like that. And it's set up for 1 bobbin, so you can buy 2 or you can buy 3. And so he's made us a Magpie Clampy Kate as well. And so I say these are both the standard Clampy Kate kit and the Magpie Clampy Kate kit, because also as a kit, it also includes the black honeycomb yarn caddy. And so that's another thing that he sells that's really, really nice. And so he's made those for us, and we have those in stock. So they're ready to go right now. All right. That was a horrible drum roll. Martin. Right? Martin. So I've been obsessed with this idea for some time, and it's sort of like Magpie. I knew I was obsessed with the idea of it, but I knew that I didn't have all the experience or skill or knowledge to put together something so complex and so precise and so big. And so I needed to get my feet wet, and I needed to make mistakes, and I needed to learn before I felt confident to produce a product that was this involved. Martin falls into the same category. It's pretty intense. So what Martin is, I designed it to be the ultimate travel wheel. So basically it's in its own box. It's in its own case that closes up. So you can open up the case and set the wheel up and spin anywhere you are. And when you're done, it all closes back down. Even the power supply and the cords and all that stuff, everything fits inside the box. Everything has a place. And let's show you one. How about that? I happen to have one right here. This is Martin. So from the side view, front view, and then looking inside of it. So this one's already set up. I've got this set up to spin, in other words. And so I've got the flyer out and installed. But this is what it is. Let me talk a little bit about it as far as the specs. It's almost a Starling in a box. Okay? And I say almost because Starling still has some things that Martin doesn't have. And if I had to choose, if I'm spinning at home on my coffee table, I think I would still prefer my Starling just because it has a larger capacity. The capacity of the Starling bobbin is just immense, like 12 ounces or more, something like that. And so me personally, I think that kind of fits with me a little bit better. And I don't travel, sadly. And so I'm kind of a homebody. I don't do as much traveling, or at least spinning when I travel. And so I would still kind of be in the Starling group. But for the people who do travel, and they're not as concerned with the bobbin capacity, imagine a Starling. Now, I mean a Starling motor. I mean, basically a Starling flyer. Starling speeds. 2200 RPM is kind of in that category, in that range with Starling, more or less, within about 10% of it. But the bobbin is more volume comparison to the Sparrow. So if you imagine a Sparrow bobbin on a Starling powerhouse or power setup, that's exactly what Martin is. And so the bobbin we say is a 5-ounce bobbin, just like we do with Sparrow. 5 ounces of singles. Actually, that's 4 ounces of singles. And you can see how much room is left over. And this is a pretty tight pack. So this was under some tension when you spun it.
It's rewound.
Oh, did you rewind it?
I rewound it.
Okay, well. How was it before you rewound it?
It was comparable.
Not much.
It wasn't that I had it on overly high tension, but I do pack firmly.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I call it a 5-ounce bobbin of singles. And I think that's honest. Some people will get more. Actually, I think, can I say it?
Yeah.
With Jerry?
It was.
How much did she get on it?
Almost 7.
Oh my God.
6.5.
Jerry Brock.
She has 20 grams left to spin to put on it to make a full 7 ounces.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
See, I did not design it to do that. So I don't know how she got that on there. It must either be super fine or she's packing it on with like her feet and tugging at it like all right. So yeah, so I mean, I think I'm being pretty generous with that 5-ounce designation. Other things that make Martin unique is it has an internal speed controller. So this big yellow wheel here that you see. So you don't have to buy the big external digital control with Martin to be able to use it. You can have a direction switch and a speed controller right here that you can operate. And so you just plug the power supply into the outside and you're ready to go. However, the Daedalus digital external speed control is a wonderful thing. If you're not familiar with it already from owning a Daedalus wheel, it's digital and just infinitely programmable, meaning you can program a start delay so that it starts up gently. All different, different levels of start delay, of stop delay. If you've ever had a bobbin kind of spit yarn off at you because it's still running when the flyer shuts down on other wheels, you can program in a very specific stop delay to keep that from happening. You can set speed limits. So like if you have a Falcon and it's too fast for you, you can set your speed limit to 50% or something like that, so you never accidentally overspeed the wheel or your ability. The increment size, clicking it every time you push the button, it only goes up 1%. If that bothers you, there's a setting in the menu where you can change the increment size, where it goes up 2 or 5% every time you push the button. And a lot of people find that more favorable just because they don't want that, the difference between 43 and 44 isn't that big of a deal to it. So like I say, that external speed control is really a thing of beauty. And if you already have one, it works with this, or you can buy it separately and it will plug into this as well. If the only thing I'll say is if you buy the external speed controller, you have one, it takes a motor extension cable to be able to plug it into the wheel. And now motor extension cables come automatically with Starlings, but not with Sparrows. And so if you're a Sparrow owner, I think you're going to need to buy that motor extension cable separately. I don't think they're too bad. They're like $20 something, $23, $25. So yeah. What else can we talk about before I get into the costs and everything that's included? The other cool thing about this, besides the internal speed control, being able to keep it cheap, even if you got the money or you have an external speed control laying around. I got a bucket of external speed controllers sitting beside me, but I don't personally feel like I really need it to use this wheel. A lot of times I can just use the old manual dial. It's nice and big, so it's easy to get your hand on and to adjust in small increments. And of my test spinners, I honestly expected them to use the internal controller like one time just to say, oh, I used it and yes, it works. But oh, that digital, I love plugging that in, and that's just so much better. And none of them really did. Like, they used the external control just to say they did, but they were perfectly happy without it and just using the manual control. And even James Long Draw Perry, if you can believe that, he was like, yeah, it's fine. It doesn't have to be that specific. I was like, oh, man, because he's a very precise spinner, very technical. And so I assumed that he would be the one that would be like, oh, I have to have that external control. He was perfectly happy without it. And so that kind of amazed me. So you can buy the wheel and not have to buy the external speed control and get started spinning. And down the road, if you say, hey, yeah, I want to upgrade. I want more fine control of my speed and my startup and my shutdown. then you can go on to the external controller. So that's got that. The other cool thing that you might have noticed is these shiny little things back here. And so what these guys are, if I could necessarily, but it becomes its own Kate. So pull this guy up. That's a Tensy tamer on top. So you can pop a bobbin there. I can put one in the other side. Actually, I've got 6 places for Kate axles. I got 2 up front and then 4 kind of in the back. In this arrangement, I only have 2 axles actually installed on the machine, or that come with it, and that's by default. Actually, my wife had these in here so perfectly. All right, so now we're back. There is room for 4 axles, and so I figure most people would only use 2, or never more than chain plying. You use 1, and for conventional plying, maybe you'd use 2 more commonly than anything else. But if you're a 3-ply or a 4-ply person, you can buy the extra pair of axles from us, and they'll come with the Tensy tamers and everything that you need.
The little yellow bases will be in the spares bag, though. It will come with 2 extra of those for people that do want to buy the extra axles.
Little trim colored yellow in this case. These little trim colored pieces here on this axle gives a base for the bobbin to actually sit on. It mates up with our bearing, so you can kind of think of it as an adapter to let the Daedalus bobbins run real smooth on it. But I'm trying to make them longer so that you could use other people's bobbins with them as well, longer and thinner. So I didn't make it exclusively only Daedalus bobbins. I try to play with the other kids as well as I can. So that's got the back going, and I think that's explained everything. There's a couple of places for some of these parts to snap into, and I will show you. I will break it down real quick, but not at this moment. I'll kind of go through and maybe talk a little bit more. Price point. The price point. That's the biggie. I wanted to bring this in. I think its ability is kind of in between Starling and Sparrow. So it's a Starling heart as far as the muscle that it has, and the orifice. It's a 12 millimeter orifice with a 6 millimeter reducer, and the yarn path is it's more like Starling. It is Starling's yarn path. So the gauge of yarn that you can fit through, and the power, because it's a Starling motor, the amount of torque that it actually gives you lets you do some of those heavier jobs that Sparrow can't do necessarily. So this is more of a Starling as far as the power side of it. It's just the Sparrow-sized bobbin in order to keep it small and get it down into the box. And so because it's in between those two, we've price pointed it at $775. And that's almost dead between Sparrow and Starling, I think. Maybe even less too, because with Starling you have to use the external controller and buy it separately if you don't already have it. So $775, what does that get you? That gets you the Martin, and it comes with 3 bobbins, and these bobbins are the up-to-date, most technically advanced bobbins that we have. They use the aluminum actively air-cooled aluminum brake drums, and Kevlar for the tension belt. The optional things that you can buy, the external speed controller, the digital speed controller I was telling you about, is another $125. And but like I say, a lot of people already have Daedalus wheels and will already have one of those. The motor extension cable that you'll need, if you don't already have that with your controller, will be either $23 or $25, depending on whether you want a 3-foot or a 6-foot. All this information is going to be on the website, so don't feel like you have to write this down. I'm going to give you the website, or I'll tell you where to go so you can see all the stuff that I'm reading this from. Extra Martin bobbins are like Sparrow priced. I think they're $90 for a 3-pack. And so extra 3-pack of Martin bobbins for $90. The extra Lazy Kate axles, I said 2 extra Lazy Kate axles, are going to be $40, and that includes everything with the Tensy tamers and everything that you need to get those going. It comes with everything you need to get spinning. The orifice hook, the drive band, a spares bag. The spares bag, if it's in this little, I've got a little corner here, and it'll be in a little burlap bag that will be tucked in there for your spares. And so sometimes people will misplace or lose their rear bearing, and so we'll have a spare one of those in it. spare tension belt material. Of course, it'll come with a tension belt already made, but as far as making your own tension belts and stuff like that, it'll come with all that material as well. The power that we have is sort of new. And do you want to grab one out of the other case? The purple? So the power for this guy, normally we use the big black bricks, and those work great. We have very high success rate with them as far as a low failure rate with those bricks. They seem to last forever, but they're big and bulky. And so for this project, I couldn't fit one of those big black bricks into here and been happy with it. And so I did a lot of soul searching and a lot of research, and I came up with this. And so this is your what they call like a foam brick, more or less. But the foam bricks have come a long way, and I could bore everyone to sleep talking about all the electrical specifics with this guy. But basically, it has the ability to output 15 volts, which is what these wheels require, with a very special cable. And so this cable has USB-C on one side to plug into the brick, and then a round connector to plug into our speed control. And there's a little resistor in here that tells the brick to set itself to 15 volts. And so it's just as simple as plugging the cable in. And this is a pretty short cable. I think it's like a meter or something, so you'd have to be a meter from the wall. So we include a 2 meter, or maybe 3 foot and 6 foot, so 9 foot total or more. Probably more like 10 feet because we're talking meters. And so this is an extension cord to go on the end of the cable. So that way you can get 9 or 10 feet away from your outlet. And I think that's more reasonable. So that's something that we've included for free in the Martin price that we didn't say as an optional accessory that you kind of have to pay more for. I just think people should be able to be 10 feet away from an outlet and by default not have to buy anything extra for that. So that's brand new. These bricks, I'm real impressed with them. We've used them with everything from Sparrow to Magpie, and they're wonderful, and you'll probably be seeing some more of these in the future. It comes with a hairband, and that way you can keep your hair out of the way. See my little ponytail? So we were looking for a rubber band that was like friendly to your fingers, and hairbands were it. But basically the way that this stuff fits in, there's a corner back here and a couple of hooks that you can pile this stuff into. If I can do this. Ta-da! And so that's where your power is going to ride. And so I could go ahead and break down the rest of this guy just to show everybody how it goes together. So your power and your cables fit in there and they're held in with a little hairband. And then this guy, to break it down, like say we're going to close it up and travel, we take the motor belt off. We pull the flyer and bobbin off. These guys just pop out. They just snap into place. And so then they go in the lid. Each one has its own little spot. And then this belt can kind of get hooked in. Alright, so that's all of that stored. And then the flyer kind of stores in this area. Da-dum, da-dum. And you'll notice that the flyer is cradled, like the front bearing and the rear of the axle here are cradled and held very securely. But in travel, I don't want this moving around or jumping around, so there are mating surfaces here and here that fully clamp down onto that flyer and keep it held into space at the same spot in space. And so that way it's very sturdy, and you don't have to worry about anything getting broken. And that's how easy it closes up. And look at that face. Is that not the cutest little face? Do you see the face? Mm-hmm. People do.
Oh yeah, I see the face.
All right. And so that's the only trim colors that we have on the outside of the box is the handle and these little mounts. And to just kind of give you a sneak peek of what the colors are going to be inside. But this is it. And it's not very big. It's, I don't know, you can see the scale with me, I guess. But actually it's about 8.5 inches square, 8.5, 9.5 if you count the handle side. So 8.5 by 9.5, and then probably about 6.5 inches tall or thick this way. And so it's a small little thing. So even when you're not traveling with it, just as far as setting it on a shelf or just getting it out of your way, it closes up really nice and packs and stores really well, and then opens back up the same way. So let's see. I'm working off a list here, so please bear with me. What you can fit in the box is everything we've talked about. This bobbin could be full of fiber, and it wouldn't get in the way of anything, of yarn. And then your braid or your fiber. So up to about 4 ounces in a braid, there's an open area that you can stuff in here, and that'll be plenty amount of space. It's 4 ounces we've gotten in here, and it's not really a problem. You don't have to sit on it to get it closed like a suitcase before you get on an airplane or anything. We've provided for it. So, all right, that's everything that can fit in it. And materials, it weighs 2.2 kilograms, which in American speak is just under 5 pounds, about 4.8 pounds. And so it comes in, it's not super heavy. I mean, it's kind of like a starling or a magpie maybe. It's not too bad to carry, or I still consider it pretty portable. And that weight's honest. That includes a bobbin and the full kit, the power, the cables. Like, I didn't pull any tricks or anything to make it sound less for you. Yep, I think maybe the last thing I'll talk about is the tension system. The tension system, what I'm going to include with it is what comes with Starling, which is a 1.5 millimeter Kevlar belt and a single spring. And that's good for most, definitely plying jobs and light work. I have some of my test spinners actually swapped out to a slightly thinner Kevlar belt that they sourced on their own. I could say down to a millimeter, 1.0 millimeter in Kevlar would be a fine, for like fine lace or something like that, where you're trying to get it super light. I can say that would be about the best. There are really, really thin Kevlars out there, like 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 millimeters, and I can't feel real good about recommending them. They are so small, so thin, that they work really well for uber light take up. But then when you dial them up and expand the spring, there's not a lot of surface area there. And so it'll actually want to wear the aluminum brake drum if you go down to too small of a Kevlar. People can actually use that to like saw firewood and stuff. I've seen videos of people sawing firewood with the thin Kevlar. So again, I supply it with 1.5 millimeter. I authorize down to about a 1.0 millimeter if you're talking about Kevlar. But hack it. Use whatever you want. You can use nylon rat tail. You can use cottons. You can use silk blends. Silks are like super slick. But yeah, you can use anything you want. If you're not going to hurt it. If you want to run it by us to see what we think first, we're more than happy to answer emails. All right, this is the portion that I'm going to answer some questions. Apparently, is that what these are? One before the other, doesn't matter.
Yes. Start with.
All right. Is this only Scotch tension? What a great question. Yes. That's another reason why I say Starling, why I like Starling is it has the Irish tension available. And for those of you that don't understand the difference, Irish tension will give you a little bit more take-up, kind of inherent take-up. And so you got a lot of people will switch to Irish for a plying job because they get that extra little bit of take-up. But another cool thing you can do with my other wheels is you can use them as bobbin rewinders. So you can turn it around and set it in Irish, where the motor drives the bobbin, and you can tether the flyer on, and you can actually rewind a bobbin. And so that is a caveat or something that you lose with Martin, or it doesn't have the ability to do it. It is only a Scotch wheel. Now, in my experience, Scotch is good if you can have it with a heavy enough tension belt so you can get enough tension to do those high-speed plying jobs. And let Irish, like say Irish kind of has more inherent take-up. Well, a Scotch system, if you design it to where it has a high level of take-up, can do those same jobs. And so that's why I supply Martin with the 1.5 millimeter Kevlar, because it's only Scotch, and I want it to have a good wide window of take-up ability. So yes, it is Scotch only. Can you easily get the USB-C cable in the UK and EU? I don't know. I have seen them in other countries, but and a lot of them you can get from China, and so I know AliExpress maybe they would have a source that would supply to Europe. I don't know. I'm not sure. You can always order it from us. I can tell you the exact details and the exact specifics on the cable for what you would need to order. It's called a decoy trigger cable, a 15-volt decoy trigger cable, and but really the power side is much more important than the cable. Like trying to find a brick or something that actually supplies the voltage. I would discourage anyone for trying to source these items on their own unless they run it by me. Because I've looked all over for these components, and there's so many like shady advertising where they'll say one thing to make you think that power brick is in the category that you need, but then when you get down to reading the fine print, it's not. And so that's what we would have to have a discussion about, exactly what these power bricks put out and exactly what they're called. And if you buy one from a shifty or shady source, then you need to have the electrical ability to have a digital voltmeter and plug it up and actually test it and make sure that it is outputting 15 volts before you plug it in and use it in your wheel. And that's a big ask for people. So like I say, if you are out of the country and you're looking around at products, just make sure you send me an email and with a link to that product, and I'll tell you if it's valid or not. Can it run on battery? Yes, absolutely. It can work with the Daedalus batteries at 15 volts, just like all my other wheels. We've got some other options that we're going to be pursuing in the future that we'll be talking about probably in the weeks or months to come. As far as batteries, we're trying to source out different battery options and for people. But for right now, the standard old Daedalus battery, the great big 40,000 milliamp hour battery works just fine with these. All right. Can you stow the battery inside? No, I'm sorry. The space that's remaining, like that's why I say this was such a design challenge, was to try to get so much stuff in such a small space. And a battery is like a little hand grenade. And so, I mean, it's heavy and it's dense. And so I'd have to have a really small one, number one, to be able to have it fit into a place here. And number two, it would have to be so secured that when you're knocking around or it's being shipped, that if that battery comes loose, it's going to act like a wrecking ball in there because the density and the heaviness of those. And so no, the battery would have to ship outside. Let's see, do you still want me to do that?
Yes.
I did. Please read the list of what's included in the price and specs. Did I not go over what's included?
I wanted you to read the list straight through.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll go back to that.
Yes.
So that's done. This is done. Will there be a waiting list? No. We were trying to get away from waiting lists. They suck for everybody, us and you. And I'm trying to, and I've succeeded in upping the production and getting the number of wheels that we get out a month and how things are done. I'm really catering to the demand to try to get these out so they're not elusive or hard to get. The Martin will be hard to get at first. It'll be released in batches just like Sparrow. So I know the popularity of it at first, it's going to be a little difficult. The sellouts will be really fast. But I give you my word, I'm doing everything I can to try to get batches out as fast as I can and to try to meet that demand.
Just for some more clarification, we have gotten through half, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot, of the Starling list this year alone.
Yeah.
So we are making massive strides.
Yeah, it's kind of awesome, actually. I think that might be it. Whatever you read the list. Please also read the list of what could fit inside. Okay.
I just want to go through everything one final time.
Yeah, I'm repeating myself, but we'll
Yes.
do it just okay. As long as we understand that. So my wife would like for me to read the list of what's included in the price and the specs, and also a list of what can fit inside. So a list of what's included, you get for $775, you get the Martin wheel and 3 black bobbins and everything that you need to run it with the internal speed controller, the power supply, the cables, $775, and you're off and you're spinning. Extras, what's included with that is an orifice hook, the pre-made Kevlar tension belt, 2 Lazy Kate axles with the tensy tamers, a drive belt, a spares bag, a the power brick, the trigger cable, the motor extension cable, and a manual. Are we going to have a paper manual?
We're going to start off for the first 6 months with a QR code on a piece of paper that will take you to the digital manual. After about 6 months, we will put it in print. We always wait about 6 months to put them in print to make sure that there aren't any, additions that we need to make to the manual itself.
Yeah, I think that's wise. All right. What can fit within the Martin box? Everything that you see here, which is what you need to spin on the road, except for your fiber. If I had 4 ounces of fiber in here, I could pull it out, I could plug it up with the power supply, set the flyer up, pull my leader through, and be spinning in a minute and a half. I think James clocked himself at 42 seconds or 43 seconds. So it doesn't take long to set it up and to break it back down. James actually said that when he would move around in his house, that he would break it down and open it back up because it was so easy. Instead of just carrying it set up, he would actually break it down because it broke down so quickly. So that's what fits in the box, is everything that you see, everything that you need to get spinning, up to 4 Lazy Kate axles, a full bobbin on the flyer, and 4 ounces of fiber will all fit inside the case. All right. And then the extras that you can get for it, if you so desire, an external speed controller. If you don't already have one, $125. If you don't already have the external speed controller, you'll need a motor extension cable, 3 foot or 6 foot, it's up to you, and that's $23 or $25. The extra 3-pack of Martin bobbins, I think, will be popular because it's only a 5-ounce bobbin, so you could always use some extras. That's $90, and they only come in black. The bobbins will only come in black, just like Sparrow. And 2 extra Lazy Kate axles, and that includes the Tinsy Tamers, and they're $40 for the 2 extra axles. And that should be about it. Going through my notes, I think I've covered it all.
Can you read the specs?
Oh, the specs. It weighs 4.85 pounds, 2.2 kilograms. It spins it up to 2,200 RPM, which nestles it right in with Starling and Sparrow. It doesn't have to spin that fast. These are advanced wheels for advanced spinners that make advanced, knowledgeable, skillful spinners happy. But yet they're intuitive. You can learn on them. It's just a simple Scotch design, and it's easy to dial in and tune and learn how to spin. So everybody from the novice to the most experienced people out there, I think, can appreciate the design. The overall sizes of it, again, it's 8.5 inches wide, 9.5 inches long if you count the handle, and about 6.5 inches thick. Of course, if you open it up, then now it becomes about 18 inches deep and still 8.5 inches wide. And then with the flyer set up, it's probably running at about 7.5 inches high with the bobbin set up. And that's it. All right. I'll take my glasses off. Really excited about this. I've been working on this a long time. We tested the design. I had a prototype probably 6 months ago that I let some of my test spinners play around on and get some feedback on them initially. And then the production prototype went out, and all the same test spinners, got to give me feedback on the production prototype. And the very, very few changes were made, and we are ready to go in production. When will these be available? Would be a good question.
The first ones will be available at New York Sheep and Wool.
Yeah, the first ones are going to be available at New York Sheep and Wool. After that, we'll release them in batches on the website. They'll be announced. And another question for me? Can folks get the Martin while they're at the retreat? We won't have them for sale at the retreat, but they are able to pre-order one, right? So you can't buy it while you're there, but if you're going to be at the retreat and you want to pre-order a wheel, you can pre-order a Martin, and it'll ship to you in January.
I think that we would love to have all of the wheels at the retreat for sale, but leading up to the retreat, it's tough because we have the pre-orders, we have all of our queues, we have, the retreat to prepare for. So being able to prepare a booth in addition to everything else is very difficult.
Okay. All right. Well, we're at the 56-minute mark, so I've got 4 minutes of blank air to fill. What can we do?
Why don't you sing them a song?
Sing them a sea shanty. Can I do a sea shanty? I wish I could sing a sea shanty. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks for listening to me gab again for another hour. I'm sorry it took me this long to be able to do this again. The lives are pretty cool because it's done in one shot, so you know it's not edited or you know, surgically modified for your consumption. I mean, this is real stuff that we do. And we're a real company, man. It's me and my wife. We started out dyeing fiber, spotted U fibers. And we came out of this community, not just as hobbyists, but as professionals, like actually going to the festivals and doing the circuits and talking to all the people. And Daedalus grew out of all that experience and all that knowledge. And then we started making spinning reels, and it's been jet powered, man, ever since that, 40,000 feet in the air. It's a dream. So thank you all. I wish I could thank you, the previous Daedalus owners that have supported us. Thank you so much. The people that are interested in Daedalus, trying to buy a Daedalus, hang in there. I promise I'm going to be your guy. I'm going to get you that wheel. Thanks for coming along. Stay tuned. Stay in the group. If you're not in our Facebook group, join up. That's where we release the most fresh information about what we're going to do with sales when things go on. So yeah, just hang out with us. If questions come up, you can email them to us. It's support@daedalusspinningwheels.com, and we'll answer your emails directly. That might be better than with this video. We'll have a link in the group, right? And sometimes people will comment their questions.
Yes, this will be put up for viewing at a later date, and you can ask more questions in the comments.
Right. Yeah, but then like if it's a year down the road,
email us.
Yeah, email us. So if it's here in this next week, you can comment on that, but or you can email us. It doesn't matter either way. Thank you all so much. We appreciate your business, and we can't wait to see you in Rhinebeck. Come and meet us in person, dude. I got a gift for Gab, so bring a chair. Love you guys. Thank you, and bye.